Today I'm going to be installing a Kisan tailBlazer into a 2013 Triumph Trophy SE. I had a tailBlazer on a previous motorcycle and I really liked the way the rapid flashing got the attention of the drivers behind me. The problem is the Trophy is so new there isn't a tailBlazer model specifically for it. So Kisan agreed to send me one for testing. The model Kisan sent is the T-50W. It's a small inline module, which is a little different from the one that I had in my previous bike. My previous bike had an incandescent bulb for the brake light, and the electronics were simply housed in a replacement bulb when you swapped out one bulb and installed a new one. You can't do that with the Trophy, however, because it has an LED cluster for the brake light. So this T-50W comes with a ground wire option, so we can try it either way. But I'm not certain that this is going to work, as the Trophy has CAN bus, and if they use that for monitoring a brake light that's out or a bulb that's out, then this might not be the correct model to use, but we'll see. Now let's open up the packaging. Looks like we have some insulated connectors. Here is the installation manual. And here's the actual module itself. Really small. So let's go ahead and get started. To gain access to the brake taillight assembly, we need to start by removing the passenger seat. Once you've released the rear seat from its lock, you can just lift it right out. Now that the passenger seat has been removed, we can access the arc clip and wing nut that holds in the brake taillight assembly. I'll just slide out the arc clip and then remove the wing nut. With the wing nut removed, we can slide the brake and taillight assembly out the back so that we can gain access to the wiring harness. The wiring harness sits on a little tab, and you can slide the whole thing forward and it'll come off. Then if you squeeze on this tab right here, you can disconnect the two halves of the harness, and then the taillight assembly will come out. Here's the brake taillight assembly removed from the bike. Let's take a closer look at the wiring harness. I'm going to be splicing the tailBlazer unit into the blue line right there. So I've cut the blue wire where I want to install the tailBlazer unit. Now I need to strip the wires on each end about 1/4 of an inch so I can install the tab connectors. I removed the wiring harness from this little tab right here so it was easier to deal with the wires. I've stripped the insulation about 1/4 of an inch on each side. Now I'm going to crimp on the tab connectors. I now have both of the tab connectors crimped onto the brake wire, and I'll simply plug them into the tailBlazer unit. Here you can see the tailBlazer unit installed. The body, according to the instructions, does not have to be grounded. Kisan did provide a ground wire simply for testing purposes, but we're not going to hook that up to anything right now. We'll try it without and see what happens. I've placed the wiring harness back on the tab and secured the tailBlazer unit behind the harness. So now let's put it all on the bike. And reinstalling the unit is simply the reverse of taking it out. I'll start by reconnecting the wiring harness and then slide the entire unit back into place. Alright, let's see what happens. Okay, so when I tested it with the engine off, but the power on, it worked, but it kept repeating the flash cycle. It never decayed or slowed to a solid brake light. But with the engine running, it appears to work fine. So let's turn it on and test it again. Okay, the unit appears to be working all right. And so all I need to do now is reinstall this wing nut that holds the assembly on. According to the Triumph Owner's Manual, you're supposed to tighten this to 1.25 Newton meters. Now I have a couple of torque wrenches actually, but I don't know how you would torque a plastic wing nut. So we'll just finger tighten that and stick this R-clip through. And now we can reinstall the passenger seat. Alright, now that the rear seat is on, we're done. Everything seems to be working as expected. It's a Kisan tailBlazer. The model number is T-50W as in whiskey. Installed in a 2013 Triumph Trophy SE.